Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to this edition of the State of the Channel. As I record this, it is January 2nd, 2019, and I thought I would record kind of a retrospective of where the channel's been over the last year, and maybe a little bit into where we're going. And perhaps even just as kind of a fun little extra thing, maybe give a little bit of a behind-the-scenes kind of view of what goes on here regarding this channel, how things get put together. So let's start with kind of how the channel's done over the last year. So in all honesty, guys, I'm actually very pleased with how the channel's done over the course of last year. When we started January 1st, 2018, we were at 375 subs. We are currently, as I record this, at 649. I was at 650, but we lost one, so so we dropped to 649, which is almost, it's not quite double where we were at the start of this year. I mean, that's fantastic growth. I'm super pleased. It's not so fast that it's unsustainable. I think that's a very healthy growth level. So I'm very pleased with the way things have been going this year. So yeah, I hopefully we'll continue to keep growing at around that pace, or maybe even a little bit better as we go into 2019. And we hit that magical 1,000 subscriber number. That's our next huge milestone coming up. As far as what happened over the course of the last year, we did get demonetized by YouTube. That is not unusual. There are two requirements for monetization on YouTube now. One is that you have at least 4,000 hours of watch time per year. We have plenty of watch time per year. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 times that value. So we have more than enough watch time on a yearly basis to make that number. However, the second one, you also have to have 1,000 subs, which of course we don't. And so in February of 2018, we got demonetized, which is fine. You know, it's not like we were making huge amounts of money on this channel, as it was. I make a lot more on Patreon than I ever made here. So I went on Social Blade, guys, and I found a channel, the first channel I could find that was right around 1,000 subs, because I just wanted to see where they were in the subscription rankings. And it turns out that a channel with 1,000 subs has a subscription ranking of about 3 million. If you search Social Blade, you can find out that there's about 25.5 million registered channels. That is to say, partner verified channels, which are eligible for monetization as long as they meet the requirements. So in order to get monetized by YouTube, you have to be in 3 million or above, which means that when YouTube added this restriction, this requirement, they demonetized close to 90% of their channels. So we were amongst those channels that were in that 90%. My current ranking in subscriptions is right around 4 million. So I got another million to go before I get back to the monetization level. So yeah, I mean, you really got to be in the top 10% of all channels to get monetized by YouTube at this point. It's just the system they've put in. I feel like we'll get there. We're steadily moving up the numbers. So like I say, 650 is nothing to sneeze at. It's 2/3 of the way there. So pretty good. So that's where things are at with that's what's happened during the course of this year. I'd like to talk about some of the things that I didn't finish this year that kind of went away, or not so much away, but they're kind of on hiatus. I do like to finish the things that I start, and I try very hard to do so. But there were a couple of things this year that I didn't finish, and one of them, the first one I'll talk about is the programming series, the game engine programming series. I would really, really love to get back into that. Somebody asked me about that not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. I had a viewer who was watching through those videos and was commenting, and good comments. He was very definitely knowledgeable about the stuff. He pointed out one area where I had made a mistake. And, he kind of suggested that I rename the series or whatever. But the thing of it is, I'm not ready to give up on that series yet. I really would like to get back to it, but I'll show you guys in a little bit why that's probably not going to happen right away. I wish I had more hours in the day to do it. It's a very time intensive series, and I just don't have the time to put into it right now. There may be something in the future that comes along that gives me more hours in the day, but we'll have to see. The other one that went on hiatus was Skyrim. Now, if you've watched my Skyrim series, you'll know that I talked about this at the end of that series 110 was the last one that I did. That's not going away either. I will get back to it, but I need to take a break from it for a while. I reached a point where I was no longer particularly enthusiastic about that game, and when that happens, I'm not doing my best work. To be completely honest, it was subpar in my opinion. And that's just because I wasn't enthusiastic about it. And if I'm not enthusiastic about a game, I'm just not going to be into it. And that's just, and I'm not going to be doing my best recordings. So I'm going to put it on hold for a little while. I'm replaced it with South Park for the moment. I'll probably go through that series, and then we'll see at the end of that series, which is only 2 games long, and they're not particularly long games. We'll see at the end of that series, how I feel about Skyrim. We may go on back to Skyrim at that point, or we may go on to another series and give Skyrim a little bit more of a break. But I will get back to it. I mean, I'm 110 episodes in. I'm guessing probably 300 to 350 episodes total for that game. That's just a total guess, but that seems to be about the number that people say. About 300 hours into Skyrim is what you put in. So we'll get back to that eventually. So those were the 2 things that I didn't finish over the year that I would have preferred to, but for reasons they had to go on hiatus for a while. Future games. I'm not going to talk about specifics about what IPs that I'm going to start playing in the future. Of course, the IPs that I currently have going, which are Batman. Let me look at my list here. Shadow, the Tomb Raider, Batman, South Park, and Red Dead. I will continue those IPs throughout however many games there are. Of course, Horizon Zero Dawn doesn't have any other games. I'm sure they've got a sequel in the making, but for right now, it's only just the one game. I will continue on with those games. Red Dead Redemption will, of course, I will do Undead Nightmare, and then, of course, Red Dead Redemption 2. Batman will continue with the series through Origins and Arkham Knight. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the final game of that series for right now. The DLC is coming out once per month. It's supposed to last through for 7 months, I think. So we've got 2 so far. We've got 5 more months of DLC to go with that one. So that'll continue on for a little while. We'll just see how that goes. But then we'll have to do a new IP because that's the last one of that game to date. But as for new IPs, I don't like to talk about specifics because of 2 reasons. One, I kind of like to keep it a surprise, just to keep some suspense in there, right? It's always fun to see a new IP pop up. But the other reason is that, if I start telling you what I have on my list of games, a certain segment of my viewership might get excited about a particular game that I say that I'm going to do in the future, and then I don't do it. All those things on my list are subject to change, just depending upon what comes out, what I get excited about at the time. So until I actually record it and put it up online and start it, there's no guarantee that it's going to be one of the games that I play. So I don't like to announce them in advance. So yeah, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is I'm going to be doing in the future, but I have looked at my list and I kind of evaluated it over the last probably a couple of weeks ago, and I realized that I play a lot of very serious games. I kind of would like to put in a few more lighthearted, fun games rather than such serious, long games that of the sort that I've been playing. And I actually had Tag make the same comment to me like just a couple of days ago. Now, we put in South Park, which is obviously a very lighthearted, fun comedy sort of game. Probably some more kind of light games coming in the future. That's not to say I'm not going to put in more serious games as well, but I would like to try to lighten some of them up a little bit. So that's kind of the direction that I'm looking at the moment. Let's talk about, maybe just for fun, some behind the scenes stuff, some stuff that you guys may not be aware of, or just to show you what I do. So I'm going to put up on the screen my recording schedule. This is the schedule that I use to keep track of what I've got going in terms of recording for the month and what I've got to do. So this is the December 2018 recording schedule, which is pretty much done as you're looking at it. I've got a couple more games right at the very bottom that still need to be posted. The way this works is once a month I print one of these out, and it basically, this particular one just happens to start on December 3rd. Basically, it starts on it starts on the Monday of the first week of the month that I am going to be recording, if that makes sense. December 3rd was the first Monday of December. So in the first column, we've got the name of the game. The second column is the episode number, and the third column is the date that it's due, which is just to say the date that I posted on YouTube. And then I've got 8 categories. It used to be 7 actually, but I added the 8th one just recently. So this is how I keep track. The first column I fill out when I record the episode. I usually record on the weekends, almost always. So yeah, during the weekends I record my 5 episodes usually. Once the episode is recorded, then when I get ready to do an edit, the first thing I do is the audio. By audio, I mean the commentary audio. I pull that into Audacity, and I do some modifications to it, mostly just noise removal. So that's what that's all about. And then I save that back out again. Then the load I have as a separate category. I load it into my editing software, and that takes about the load takes about probably 45 minutes to load in a video. I load the audio, the commentary audio separately. That only takes a minute. But then the video along with the game sound takes about 45 minutes to load. The recording, of course, a typical recording, for me to do an hour-long recording, it can vary. Skyrim sometimes took me several hours, but most of them generally take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half for me to record. The audio portion, when I do it, just takes a couple of minutes, probably 5 minutes for me to do the audio. And then, like I say, about 45 minutes to load that audio or that video back into my editing software. The editing process, which is the next one, generally takes, let's say the video is an hour and 15 minutes long or an hour and 20 minutes long. That's fairly typical of my raw footage. To edit it, it takes a bit longer than that because, of course, you're editing. So I have to watch the entire video, which takes the amount of time the video is, so an hour and 15 minutes, plus the amount of time it takes me to stop and do edits as we're going. So, an hour and a half to 2 hours to do an edit on a video is pretty normal for each video. Once the video is edited, it then encodes. That takes about half an hour or so to encode the video into a form that's compatible with YouTube. And then I do a review. So I take the final product, which hopefully is about an hour long, and I watch it. I watch it back to make sure that there was no problems with the encoding, to make sure I edited everything okay. Every once in a while, I'll miss something and have to go back into the editing software and fix it. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So I do a review of that video, which of course takes about as long as the video is, about an hour. And then finally I post it. Posting takes about 15 minutes or so for me to get together the descriptions and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you can see how long each one takes. And then this final category, social, I just added that one. I think in December. It was in last December. I think in November's recording schedule didn't have that. The reason I added the social is because I post on Facebook, Patreon, and Twitter, basically notifications that something new has gone up. But I found that I was forgetting to do it. I'd go to do it and realize there was like 3 videos that I hadn't done yet, and I'd have to post them all. So I put it on my list to remind myself to do it every time. So that's worked out pretty well. So each video has like 8 stages, which I work on throughout basically the week. And then I do 5 videos a week. So during the course of a week, I try to get one of these blocks done, which of course there's 8 times 5, which is 40 total spots that I have to finish in any given week. So that's kind of the top section. That's how I keep track of where things are at. That's how I keep track of having 5 games going at once with all of them in multiple stages. Like some could be an edit stage, some could be just recorded, some are in review stage, and so on. So that's how I keep track. Without that, I don't know how I would keep track. Like I said, I was forgetting to do the social, and that's just one of the stages. so that's trying to keep track of all 8 of those stages for 5 videos at a time. Good luck. So the bottom section underneath the grid is kind of just where I keep track of my progress during the course of the month. In this particular case, there's 37 that I did on December 1st. I did not actually do 37 on December 1st. What happens there is I, generally speaking, get done with the month before. Right now, I'm not quite finished with December, even though it's January 2nd as I record this, because you can see at the bottom the final 2 videos were due. The final 3 videos were due. Well, no, I take that back. The final 4 videos were due actually in January, and that's just because the Monday ended up on December 31st, right? So I finished out the week on December. However, that doesn't mean I've stopped recording and doing the stuff going into January. What it means is I've continued on, and even though I'm not quite done with this last week in December, on this page, the next page, the January recording schedule, I've already got going for next time. What ends up happening is I put all that stuff that I've done before the schedule actually starts into that one day. So 37 is actually several days worth of work. And then each day I jot down how many I've got finished that day. So you can see I finished 8, 7, 6, only 2 on December 5th, and so forth. And then the rest of it is just statistics that I like to keep track of. The last number in the number in the last column is where it starts off with 5.9 and then goes to 4.8, 4.7, and so on. That tells me how many boxes I need to fill per day to get done in the amount of time that I have. So if I started off and I did exactly 6 per day, I would completely keep up all the way to the end of the month. I try to do a little bit more than what is required. So you can see when I did 37, of course, it went from 5.9 down to 4.8. So I only needed really to do 5 per day at that point. When I was doing 8, 7, 6, trying to keep up with it. But I will say trying to keep up with it is sometimes very difficult. 6 per day is pretty much my maximum, except on the weekends. You know, I spend probably, by the time I get up, get ready for work, go to work, then come home, get the kids from school, get back. That's about 10 hours out of my day. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of extra time left over for working on videos. I probably have 3 or 4 hours left before I have to stop and spend at least a little bit of time with my family, which I try to be done by about 7 p.m. every day, so I can spend time with them. So 3 or 4 hours is what I have to work on it on a daily basis, and I can get 6 done per day, usually, sometimes 7. So yeah, I mean, that's about what I have in terms of time. And this is the reason why the programming thing went on hiatus. That's it. That's all the time I have. Yeah, you can probably see that from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm working, and there's no extra time. And on the weekend I'm recording, and I'm trying to get a little bit ahead of that number in the last column to give myself a little bit more space. Now you might think, well, towards the end of the month, the numbers get down to 2 or even less than 2, and I'd have extra time. But no, I'm again, like I said, I'm working on the next month's stuff, right? So I'm trying to get that going. So yeah, it's basically every moment I have is of free time is spent here doing this kind of stuff. So that's the reason why the programming thing kind of went on hiatus. It's because I just don't have any more time left. I'm out. So yeah, so that's enough of that. I'll show you guys real quick the January recording schedule. This is a blank. I've actually filled out most of the first week already, but I'll show you the blank. There's no spoilers on this, I don't think. There's no new games here, so yeah, you guys can see this. So yeah, that's where things are at. That's how I kind of keep track. It's kind of a behind the scenes view of how I do things here, just so you guys see it. So that's about all I wanted to really say. One other thing I wanted to bring up was Patreon. 2 things about Patreon. One is if you guys have any suggestions on rewards that I could give to my patrons, not my patrons, do let me know. The one thing that I will not do, that I'm very much against, is putting any videos behind a paywall. I will not do that. I'm not doing videos to get paid. So the videos need to stay free, but I'm open to any other rewards that you guys might think of. Currently, we have the kind of the shout out rewards where I name all my $5 plus patrons at the end. I give a list of all the $3 plus patrons in the description along with the links, and and at the very end of the video, I list people's names, and that's pretty good. I mean, especially as I get more higher in subscribers and maybe get a little bit more exposure, that gives other people the opportunity to get exposure from me. It's not so big when I'm a smaller channel, but as I get bigger, hopefully that becomes more of a big deal. So I think that's pretty good, but if there's anything else that you guys can think of that I could easily do, I'm open to it. Somebody asked me what happens if I get so many patrons that it starts to get cumbersome to name them all and stuff like that. Now, that's not a problem that I have at the moment, and that would be a nice problem to have. But here's what I thought. If it gets to a point where I can't sit here and name off all the patrons that I have for some reason, because it would be a 20-minute list, or I can't fit them all on the screen at the end, or whatever. If it gets to be overflow, I'll just raise the number that's required to hit that list. So I might raise it from $1 to $3, and the $3 reward from $3 to $5, and the $5 reward from $5 to $10. What that would mean for my current patrons is nothing. If you were at a particular reward level, you will stay at that reward level even if you're no longer eligible. So if you're doing exactly $5 a month and you're being named in the video by me personally, you would stay at that level even if I raised it to like 10. For new people coming in, they would need to hit the new level, but the old people would stay at the old level. Now, if you dropped support for a while or some gap, when you came back, you would have to go to that new level. You wouldn't go get grandfathered in back to the prior level. That's just too much to keep track of. I think that's how that would work. We'll see if that ever becomes a problem, but sometime in the future, maybe perhaps it would. I don't know. I want to say to my patrons, my usual thank you very much. I mean, I know I kind of go through that thank you very much spiel kind of quickly, but it is genuinely meant as a thank you. It is a big help. I have a bit of a money put into that, and I'm just letting it sit there for the moment and build up. And what I'm going to do with it, I think the first thing I want to do is commission some new professional banner art for the site when I got enough money built into there. Now, right now, my banner is fine. I kind of like it. I know for a fact that it's unique because I made it. The current banner is a set of models that I commissioned for a project that I was working on that was done by somebody who animated them and everything. Then I posed them into a level that I built, or piece of a level that I built. I posed them all in kind of a group shot like that, like we see, and took a screenshot of it. So I know that no one else has that screenshot. It's completely unique. So I kind of like it, in that respect. So I'm not in a super hurry to get commission something new, but I do think it could be improved. And if I had a professional do it, and it's kind of expensive. If I was in a super hurry, I would throw in more of my own money to do it and get it done right away. If I had something that I hated. But I don't see the need to get it done like right now. It just really isn't particularly necessary. I don't think. So I'll just let it sit until we've got enough to go get that done, and that's coming up pretty fast actually. I think we're getting pretty close to where that's going to be the case. Maybe in another couple of months. One of the big problems is I have absolutely no idea what to do for the banner art. Even if I commission somebody to do it, a professional artist to do it, I need to give them some idea of what I want, and I absolutely have no idea. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So anyway, that's everything I wanted to say. That's kind of the state of the channel right now. So if you've gotten this far, thanks for listening. Again, thanks to my patrons. I won't go through the whole thing as this is not a normal video, and I've kind of already thanked them already. But again, thank you very much, guys. So we'll stop here, and I will see you guys in the next video this week, which will be, as usual, Shadow of the Tomb Raiders on Monday. So I will see you guys then. Thanks a lot.